We'll now take a look at declaring Unga Bunga. In order to become the ultimate caveman, you will have to declare Unga Bunga, and in this video we're going to learn exactly how to do that. When a player has the cards that they need to make their final item, they must declare Unga Bunga and allow each opposing player one turn before they can win the game. Let's take a look at our example. Here we see this player only needs to make a wheel to win the game, and they have the 2 cards that they need to make the wheel. This player can now declare Unga Bunga.
Unga Bunga!
When a player has made 5 out of 6 items, they are allowed a few seconds at the end of their turn as a common courtesy to review their cards and decide if they want to declare Unga Bunga. This window is provided to players who have made 5 out of 6 items because the ideal time to declare Unga Bunga is at the end of your turn. We will see why it's best to wait until the end of your turn to declare Unga Bunga as we play through this hand. When a player declares Unga Bunga, the other players can continue to make their own items and can also declare Unga Bunga, but they should also send wild animals after the player that has declared Unga Bunga in order to steal the cards that their opponent needs to win. We will now play through this hand as the bottom player. We have already declared Unga Bunga. It is the end of our turn and the player on our left will go next. We'll be able to see our cards, but we won't be able to see our opponent's cards. The player on our left has made their house, and they have also thrown a bitey cat at us in order to stop us from winning the game. We have no choice but to use our pointy stick to defeat the bitey cat. Those cards will go into the discard pile, and we will each take a new card. The player across from us will now go, and they have made their wheel, and they have also sent a growly beast after us. We no longer have any weapons, so we cannot defeat the growly beast, so we will have to show the player across from us our cards, and they will take the card that they want. They will also take 2 cards from the deck to replace the ones that they used to make their wheel. The growly beast will go into the discard pile, and we will take 1 card to replace the ones that they stole from us. The player across from us has now finished their turn, and because they have 5 out of 6 items made, they are permitted a few seconds at the end of their turn to review their cards and decide if they are going to declare Unga Bunga. They've decided not to declare Unga Bunga, and the player to the right of us will now make their turn. The player to the right of us is going to make their fire. They are also going to make their house. And lastly, they are going to throw a stompy monster at us. We will have no choice but to use an Unga Bunga wild card to defeat the stompy monster. Both of these cards will go into the discard pile. The player to the right of us will take 5 new cards, and we will take 1 new card. Their turn is now over, and because they have made 5 items, they are allowed a few seconds to look at their cards and decide if they are going to declare Unga Bunga. They have decided not to, and it is now our turn. At the end of our last turn, we had declared Unga Bunga, and now each player has had 1 turn, but we no longer have our rolly stick to make our wheel. So, from the rules, if you have declared Unga Bunga and you cannot make your final item after each player has had 1 turn, your declaration of Unga Bunga becomes invalid, and you must wait at least 1 turn before you can declare Unga Bunga again. With the cards that we have, we will make another tool, and those cards will go into the discard pile. We will also use our growly beast and give it to the player across from us. The player across from us is unable to defeat our Growly Beast, and now must show us their cards, and we are going to take the card that we want. We will also take 2 cards from the deck to replace the ones we use to make our tool, and the player across from us will take 1 card to replace the one we stole from them. The Growly Beast will go into the discard pile, and although we do have the cards that we need to make our wheel, we will not be allowed to declare UNGA BUNGA again until our next turn.
UNGA BUNGA!
The player across from us has declared UNGA BUNGA, but they have done so prematurely. Although their declaration of UNGA BUNGA is valid, they will not be able to make their final item until all players have had at least 1 turn. So on their next turn, they will not be able to make their house and will have to make some other play. The player on our left will now take their turn, and they are going to make another wheel, and they are also going to send a Bitey Cat after the player across from us. The player across from us will use an UNGA BUNGA wild card to defeat the Bitey Cat. These cards will go into the discard pile, and both players will take their new cards.
UNGA BUNGA!
With a surprise move, the player on our left has declared UNGA BUNGA with 2 items left to make. This is a valid move provided that they have the 4 cards that they need to make both of their remaining items. The player across from us will now take their turn, and although they have declared UNGA BUNGA, they will not be able to make their final item because not all players have had a chance to throw monsters at them. So they will just discard a shiny rock and take a new card. The player on our right will now take their turn, and although 2 players have declared UNGA BUNGA, they are only permitted to throw 1 wild animal. So their best course of action is to throw a wild animal at the player on our left, which they will do so by throwing a Stompy Monster. The player on our left is going to defeat the Stompy Monster with a pointy stick, and they are going to use those cards to make clothes. Both players will take a new card, and it is now our turn. On our last turn, we failed to make our final item after declaring UNGA BUNGA, which prevented us from declaring UNGA BUNGA until this turn. So we will not be able to make our wheel this turn, but we will be able to declare UNGA BUNGA this turn. So for now, we will have to throw our Stompy Monster at the player on our left. The player on our left is going to use an UNGA BUNGA wild card to defeat our Stompy Monster. Those cards will go into the discard pile, we will each take our new card, and we will declare UNGA BUNGA.
UNGA BUNGA!
The player on our left will now take their turn, and from the rules, if you have declared UNGA BUNGA and you can make your final item after each player has had 1 turn, you become the ultimate caveman and you win the game. In this scenario, by being the first player to make all 6 items, the player on our left has won the game and become the ultimate caveman. This concludes the final section of the UNGA BUNGA rules, and we hope that now you fully understand how to play the game UNGA BUNGA. In our next video, we will review the frequently asked questions about UNGA BUNGA so that nobody gets left behind.